everyone. Welcome to STUCO Small Talks, where we talk about everything and anything. We are your hosts, Arnita.
Andrea. Today we have a special teacher segment with Mrs. Stud and Mrs. Carlisi.
How's doing?
We're doing good. How about you?
Good. You know, hashtag living the dream.
So I hear that, I don't know, Miss Stud, that Dentler and Dr. Neg, I don't know, we're not going to be able to compete with them.
No, we're not. We're not. So I
like,
we
we're not going to try. We're not going to try. I was talking to my students about, I'm like, I mean, come on, we're set up for like, we're not going to, like, they are economy routine, literally, their economy.
They are. They have a bit all the time. It's what they do. Yeah, no. I can't even play the organ or anything. Mr. Neg and Dr. Neg, come on. It's okay.
So what were like, when, you know, how we were voted for, like, what do people want to know? Like, what's the curiosity behind our, like, you know, our backgrounds? Like, what are some things you think that you girls think that, you know, that students would want to know about us?
Honestly, I think it's like, mostly like personal life, as in like what do you guys do out of school? Because for some reason there's this weird like stereotype that like teachers only teach, like they only live in the school.
Right.
They have like a secure door, like they live in their classrooms, but obviously like you guys have a life outside of school and like had a really like different high school experiences than what we're having right now. So
oh my gosh, yeah.
We just want to know about like just stuff like that.
It's fun.
I'm not spontaneous. I'm not a spontaneous person.
No, if I prepare, I'll feel even more embarrassed about the bad answers I come up with.
Yeah, so we didn't really have anything prepared. So, I mean, it's interesting now, like compared to maybe like when I started teaching. So I started 20 years ago. This is year 20. And so, you know, now my life is, you know, pretty, I would say, as my son said, Mom, don't sound basic. So that's the word that comes to my head. And she's like, and don't call yourself a soccer mom. Everyone hates that. I'm like, oh my God. So now I would never have thought, if you told my 20-year-old self that I, you know, am living in the same town that I grew up in, that I would have fled like
that's awesome.
Many years ago. I would have fled like away, and that I just have like a house, like, you know, in the suburbs, and that I probably would have been like, that's not going to be me, like, you know, because, you know, I always thought that, well, I come from a family of teachers. So when you come from a family of teachers, you tend to be told not to be a teacher. Like that's like a tradition. Like don't do it, do something else. It's too much work for, you know, all that stuff. So I never thought that I would end up in this place that I've been for 20 years. So what about you, Miss? Did you like, had you gone to school to be a teacher?
Yeah. No, I knew I wanted to be a teacher in second grade. Same thing. My mom was a teacher. My mom and I went to the same college actually, because well, she graduated from Trenton Teachers College. I graduated from the College of New Jersey, but it's the same place. So, and I knew in 10th grade I wanted to teach chemistry, so it was nice and easy for me. This is, I think this would technically be year 23 for me. So, and this is my 4th school because we moved around a lot. So, and I stayed home for 5 with my kids. So I guess this is more like, I can't do that math, 18.
But it's 23 years in education, you know.
23
we look good. Yes. We look good.
We are killing it. We are killing it. I have teenagers in this house. Like I'm killing it.
Me too. I have 2 freshmen.
Me too. Oh my gosh.
I have 2 freshmen. The freshman year, and it's so funny because I've taught freshmen for 20 years, and I always was so excited for like when my kids would be freshmen. I'm like, what was I thinking? Like,
as much fun
you
as
know? Oh my God. 2 freshmen. Yes. So I have a boy and a girl that are freshmen. And that's all I have. And no, I had no desire to get pregnant again, as even though people assume that, well, why didn't you want to do that twice? I'm like, no, thank you.
One and done.
That was good. That was good.
Got one of each kind.
Yeah, exactly. So they're freshmen, and they have been virtual. They went in their trimesters. So they've been virtual. So they've been home since November.
Yes.
Yes. And they're just, they're okay with it. I mean, they're okay with it, but they are going back in the spring semester.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, their school tests them on campus and all that, so it's a little bit different, but
Oh, that's
they'll be,
great.
yeah, so they're going, so they'll be going, so I'm kind of excited for that for them, even though it'll be a change and all of that stuff, so that's kind of where we are right now.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I was thinking about when Miss Stud was talking about always wanting to be a teacher, I feel like I was always inspired by politics. So I think one of the reasons I was unsure about being a teacher was where does that fit? Like, what was I gonna do, teach law school? Like, I don't know what I would do.
Right, right.
It was until I did have a class, a senior class in high school that was a government class. And it's funny because when I started teaching in South Brunswick, there was no government class. And I was a political science English double major. Actually, I'm not a history person.
Oh, wow.
And my first year, they were like, we want to create a new course. I was like, I'll do it, government. So hence I've been teaching this class for 20 years. So
Wow.
I created it. I literally tell
That's
them,
awesome.
I scare my freshmen because I'm like, this class was my first baby. And they're like, oh my God.
Simmer down, lady. Simmer down.
Exactly. That's usually it. I'm like, yeah. So, and I think I worked for a lawyer in college and I was just so not inspired. I was like all set up. I was like, when you have a plan, like I had a plan.
Yeah.
I had a plan. I was like, and at junior year, I was working for this lawyer. I'm going to go
Right.
to law school, I'm going to be a lawyer. And then I was working for this lawyer and I was like, I hate this so much. I just hated it. I don't know why I hated it. I always thought
Good
I
thing you
loved it.
found out before you dumped all that money into law school.
I know. I didn't know what to do. I signed up for the LSAT. I was crying. It was
Oh
a
my
big, it was
gosh.
this big dramatic thing. And then I graduate and then I started subbing. And once I started subbing, I actually talked to my American government teacher that I had as a senior.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, you know what? I think I want to do this, but I want to teach this class. Like I want to teach politics. So it just kind of like evolved like that, that
Yeah.
I became that, that I teach this class. This class is like perfect for me.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
So
I can't believe you could decide to want to teach by subbing, because to me it's no fun.
No, I know, isn't that weird? You know why? This is why, Holly. This is why. Because when you sub, and think about Zinsmeister, shout out
Oh,
to
he's
Zinsmeister,
the
right?
best.
But think about him. How much does he know about our kids personally,
Yes.
right? So
Yep.
when I was subbing, I didn't have to worry. I would literally, and there was a VCR. It was like this wheelie cart. So I had this like
Oh, I
wheelie cart.
remember.
I had a VCR tape that I would show because every sub in high school was like a VCR tape, right?
Yep.
But then, so I was like, whatever with that. And then I would talk to the kids. And
Yeah.
that's still my favorite thing about teaching is talking to the kids.
I know,
And
it's what I miss the most.
And exactly, that's the thing that's so funny on the Zoom is I miss,
know.
getting to know my students so much. I feel like I know my seniors because
Yeah.
they are more comfortable in the chat. I don't know with you guys, like your classes, that chat, I feel like come alive more, that are
Yeah.
like, that are active in the chat.
Yep.
And my class of seniors, sometimes we have 200 chats per class. It's just all comments and, like agreeing and being involved and stuff.
Right.
So that I feel more connected, but it's difficult on the Zoom, to have that one-on-one
hard.
connection. That, I try to joke around, but then I don't think it comes off well. Like, I'm like, they're like
She's
looking
talking
at
to
me.
herself again. There she goes again.
I know. I'm like, oh, you look like, I usually see your side profile and now I see the front of your face. This is a crazy day. Like,
Fun. I know. Oh, it's the worst. And then once in a while, there's one kid who will unmute and talk to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, how are you? It's nice. I love it. You're like, sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable.
So the teaching style obviously like changes, especially now because of like the pandemic and Zoom. It's so much more harder. But I was wondering, since both of you are saying like you guys have kids in high school, do you think like having kids in high school like changed you, like how you view students or like the way you approach some classes?
Yeah, I think like how I organize. it changes how I organize my Google Classroom. It definitely, yeah, it changes my expectations a little bit. You know, I just see how hard it is for them. My kids are doing okay, I think. They're both virtual. But I just see like it's a strain on them, you know, and it's exhausting being in their own Google Meets all day. And you know, by the afternoon they're kind of fried and they just need some break time. So I think it definitely shaped how much like homework I'm giving. And I'm
Yeah,
only doing like what is
yes,
absolutely necessary, even for my honors classes. I had to tell a
yes.
kid yesterday, like, this is not typical. Like, this is not normally how much work you would do. So, but I always say I'm like every teacher, that every teacher TikTok you see that like makes fun of your Zoom teacher. It's I'm every single part of everyone. I was like,
I know, but
like, oh
oh my
god,
gosh,
the bad
I
TikTok.
totally agree. I totally agree with
Let
that.
me share my. Oh, I'm muted.
Yes, but you
Um,
know what? That's how we're new teachers. See, this year, even though
right.
we're old, we've been here
Yeah,
for a long time.
new
And
teachers.
I'm the type that like I have a hard time when I'm kind of not on top of things. So like in the beginning it was really hard for me, but now I just have to be like, look, like I'm just not an expert at this. I don't have it. I don't have it together.
We're all
But
still
you
learning.
know, exactly.
I
So
always say you should just come to expect this at this point. It's February. You've watched me be a mess at this for how many months now?
but I feel like there's certain things just like I know how to like in the beginning I didn't even know how to like share my sound. Like I was like literally I was like, how do you see the
Mhm.
chat when you're sharing your screen? I mean, I was like so and
I
then but you
know.
know what? Students help. Students were like, well, you do this, you do that, you know. So
Yes, they're so good. Well, when everything shut down, Mrs. Hunter and Miss Chishti and I made like a Zoom date, and we just were like, okay, you're gonna be the host. Let's pretend. All right, share. You know, we kind of worked through all the kinks, taking notes. Thank goodness we did that, or I would not have been.
oh well, what would you say if they asked you like your most embarrassing moment? And I was like, I have no idea, you know?
I'm
Like I was
really
like,
careful not to have one.
yeah, I know. I know. And I don't get embarrassed too easily, you know,
No, me
because
either.
like, yeah, because I'm just like kind of a dork. So I just don't get like I really don't get, you know, I'm the one where like though I'm not coordinated, so like a door will be this big and I'll walk like into the side. Like I don't know how. Like I just am
So good.
kind of like as type A personality I am, I'm kind of just like all over
Whatever.
yeah, exactly, you know. But it's funny because I think my worst moment in all of South Brunswick in 20 years was actually my interview, which is really funny
Who did
because
you
like
interview?
I don't know how I got this job. I really don't because I get there and the interview was 7. So all the other interviews I ever had for social studies was mostly men. I don't know about you, Holly, when you were interviewing for
Yes,
science.
science. Yeah,
Especially 20 years ago, it was like male
yep,
dominated, right?
absolutely.
So there were but the weird in South Brunswick, one of the reasons I had a good feeling, and I'm all about like you get in a place, like I feel like that for college, you have to get the feeling, I call it, you know?
Oh yeah,
So I
yep.
walk into school and I'm like, ooh, like this is like giving me good vibes. And I walk in the conference room and it's 6 women. There was a group interview, all women for social studies, and then the boss was
That's
a male
awesome.
who was amazing. And he's there, and then 3 women on each side. And I'm like, okay, like this is different, you know?
I
And
like
they're
it.
asking me things and all of that. Now, at the time, my now husband was my fiance. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I guess I figured everybody knew I had this interview. And I didn't turn my phone off. So as I'm in the middle of the interview, my phone starts ringing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like my portfolio and all my nonsense out. And I like grab it and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to shut it off. And I turn it, okay. And then I keep going. Well, like at the end of the interview, the bell rings. You know, you could hear the bell in all the rooms.
Oh
The
yeah.
bell rings, and they were like, oh, we're about to leave. And the bell rings, and one of the women sitting there said, oh, sorry, we forgot to turn it off.
That was not nice at all. Who was that?
And
We're not going to call anybody
I'll
out.
tell you later. I'll tell you later. She no longer works in the building, actually.
Okay.
Neither do many of those people
That.
that were sitting there.
No, I feel
we
so
have now-
welcome.
Yes, so I literally left there and I was like, there is no way I'm getting this job, you know?
Oh my
Like, I'm done. And then the craziest thing is that I was mad at my husband for weeks. Like, he knew I had the interview.
You knew what
Why was he
time.
calling me? He's like, well, I wanted to see how it was. I'm like, I was in the middle of it. God. So yeah, so that was but since then I figured, since I don't know how I managed to get the job. I remember when he called me, I was like shocked. I was like,
Are you sure? I'm done with the phone.
I don't think she liked me very much.
Not if that lady is still there.
So I think, but then after that, so that's why after that I'm smooth sailing. I don't have like that was a.
I know. It's been pretty easy. I had Dr. Chucker interview me. It was just me and Dr. Chucker, right?
Mm, He must be an interesting interviewer. He has some
He's
interesting
great.
questions.
He's great. So I drove up and it's about a half an hour drive for me. And I thought, I drove up and, you get to the top of that hill on Ridge Road and you see this building that is the biggest high school I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, this is too far. So I thought, well, I don't really even care if I get this job. It's too far from my house. So, I was very relaxed in the interview and Dr. Chucker just kept saying to me, what is a question you think I was going to ask you? And so he did that like 4 times. And then I said to him, listen, I'm doing one more and then it's your turn to start asking the questions. And he was like, okay. But he said, you made me laugh, so I hired you. I was like, oh, good. I'm glad it's not for the chemistry.
That's awesome. See, he was looking for personality. He needed a spark.
I guess.
That spark,
Oh, geez. Good times.
I know, it's crazy.
Good times.
I mean, my first full day was an A day, and my first full day of teaching, brand new teacher.
Oh, wow.
Was 9/11.
No, really?
My first full day of teaching was 9/11. Yep.
My gosh, that's
Yep.
crazy. I can't.
Yeah, and I
imagine.
remember everyone talking about it, but I was too nervous. I was like, I can't put on a television. I can't. I'm like literally it was my first full day of teaching.
I can't believe that. That is crazy.
And I still remember that class so well. It was actually, if anyone knows, like Mr. Gazali, like that was their class. It was the class was.
Oh my gosh, really?
He wasn't in my class like that at that particular period, but I remember every single kid in that particular class because it was like my first class ever, and it was 9/11.
Oh my gosh!
So, so that was pretty
crazy.
memorable.
That is. Yeah, you wouldn't. I think we all know where we were on that day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Crazy.
One of the reasons that we're both interviewing you is because of how everyone in our school seemed to want to ask you guys questions. So, because obviously you guys are some of the people's favorite teachers. So we want to know who your favorite teachers were back in high school for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was pretty active in the band. So my band director was one of my favorites. And then, of course, my chemistry teacher. He's the one that inspired me to be a chem teacher. So I loved him. He was so chill. He would like play music for us while we did lab. And he was just like, he always made great chemistry jokes. I mean, they're all great, but he especially told good ones.
Exactly.
I think they were my favorites. Those are my 2.
Mine were the one that I had mentioned that when I went back to sub, I spoke to him. He was my American government teacher for 12th grade. And we did this competition and we went to DC, and I love DC. We went to DC and we competed. And I remember I had the 5th Amendment. I remember my amendment, and I had to do the 5th Amendment, and they had to ask him all these questions and everything. But I remember that and really getting close with that group of kids that did that and everything. And the other one we had, when I went to school, I always loved English, but there's not a lot you can do when you love English. There's not a lot unless you want to be an English teacher. And my English teacher, we did this thing that was 2 days of enrichment and 3 days of English. And the one enrichment was we wrote a book. And so I wrote this children's book. And I mean, it's it's just about this giraffe that can't jump rope because he's too tall. And I wonder where I was thinking of, you know. And so, but I remember we did like enrichment stuff. Like we had discussions. It was more like project based, like discussion based, project based. And that's what I always enjoy. I think I teach the way that I enjoyed school,
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
also what I struggled with. So I remember going to college and struggling with writing like what I call the boring research paper, because I had always written creatively in high school.
Oh, wow.
And then I got to college and I was like, I remember them marking it up like opinion, you know, create, like they wanted like the boring research
Just the
paper.
facts, yeah.
So now I make my kids write a boring research paper because I'm like, it can't always be creative
know how to
writing,
do.
you know. So I kind of do it both ways, where I'm like, this is what I loved about school and I want to do those types of things.
What was your high school lives like? Were you guys part of clubs? Did you guys do sports, or like were you guys involved?
Well, I found myself becoming the treasurer of many clubs because no one ever wanted to be the treasurer. And so if I wanted to be involved in leadership, I was like, I'll be the treasurer, sure. Because the funny thing is, even though I'm such a poli-sci person, I always took accounting classes. There's something about accounting where you can get a right answer that is so the opposite. That is so the opposite of discussions and philosophies and poli-sci, that it was so nice to get a right answer, you know, because there's no right answer in anything else that I do. So I always enjoyed that. It was very satisfying. So I always would do the accounting for a lot of the things. I also did the drill team. And I was in class council. Yeah, so you were the band, I was the drill team.
Yes,
right?
yes. I was marching band. I was big time marching band. Yeah.
Yes. And I love doing the competitions for band. I also did all the shows, all the plays, but I can't sing. It was always a musical. And I can't sing for anything, but I like to be on a stage. I think that's maybe why I became a teacher. I'm like, well, I like to be on a stage. I think Dr. Neg and I have that in common.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where we connect. And so I couldn't sing, but they would always want me in the musical to just be the one that's like, bye bye birdie's coming, and then I would run off the stage and everyone else would sing. You know, like, because I don't get, like, I'm not nervous in front of people, but I just can't sing. I try to sing. I enjoy singing.
But you're the only one that enjoys you singing.
Yeah. I also enjoy dancing, and it's the same thing. It's the same as
yes.
I enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
It's all that matters. That's all that matters.
So I did class council. I didn't do student council. My best friend was in student council. I always did activities, but I wasn't involved as much. I did class council stuff, and it's funny. And then I was the class advisor when I started in the high school. I was the class advisor. That is a tough job to do all the proms and everything. That was a tough job.
Well, I did marching band for all our junior high was connected to the high school, so I was able to do that for all 6 years. And I was our guard captain sophomore, junior, and senior year. Pretty exciting. We did all the competitions, and I did math team and academic decathlon and anything that could go on my transcript so that I could get into a good college. And I did interact, and I did. I'm trying to think. Such a long time ago. I don't think I did any of the class council stuff that I can remember, but the band was I did the musicals in the spring. I do love to sing, but I was usually just off to the side. That's okay. Yeah, that's good stuff.
So what would you guys say were some of your most memorable moments in high school?
I'm thinking a little bit more about college, because it's, for me personally, and this is why I get so excited for you and for people moving on. College was where I feel like I was really able to spread my wings a little bit more. In high school, I had a really protective old Italian father, old school Italian father, who would wait in the driveway for me and at curfew. And so I was a little bit restricted. I don't know if anybody out there has strict parents that don't let you do a lot. In my experience, not as clicky. I think in high school, even though in our high school we're so diverse and there's so many amazing things about our high school and how the different initiatives we have, I still feel like in college, it's just like, it's based on just where you live or your interests or your major or whatever it is. And,
Yes.
and I got like involved in so many things, and I ended up being like the press secretary for this one organization that was actually now I always look at myself like, God, I cannot imagine doing that now. Like, I feel like I was braver then. So that's what I'm saying for you guys. Like, I had like so much more guts. I'm like, where was that person? We were in this organization where we would go and help different, like we were basically supposed to be like, this sounds really corny right now, but it was supposed to be like looking for different areas where justice has been withheld because of people of oppressed minorities. So we would do things like one of our jobs was when you saw someone being pulled over, you were supposed to pull over behind the cop to make sure that everything is going like the way it should be going. I can't imagine doing that now. Now I like hide in the corner, like we protested tuition going up. And since I was the press secretary, we had to get permits. Everything was very like when all our activities, and I had to be interviewed by the press. So then when I went to work for this law firm, the one lawyer says to me, I need to see you before we can hire you. I was like, why? Because I'm like the biggest goody ever, and that, never. And he's like, I just Googled you. Are you gonna be trouble? Are you gonna be trouble? And I was just like, no, I just want a job. So it's just those types of things that are like experiences that you remember, like when I was a sophomore in college, I like shaved my head. Like, I can imagine, like I shaved my head. Like, I was just like, I had this feeling of 100% like wanting to be whoever I was and not really thinking about the perceptions of others, which I don't think anytime before that or anytime after that, I have ever really, had that freedom as much,
Yeah, it's true. I do think everybody in college too is just a little more like cool, mature. They don't care what other people think. It's not the same as like high school, but.
What would your advice be for like just high school students or like SPHS students in general?
I think you have to like follow your passion. I think you have to like think about what you love and you have to follow what you love, right? You have to do it boldly without worrying about what people will think or, necessarily all of the possible consequences, right? You have to follow that. You have to follow that little voice that's telling you what you love and what you want to do.
And that's so true, right? You have that voice that's like, this isn't right or this is right.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes how you imagine things would turn out is not how they're going to turn out, and that's okay. The plan might not work. The plan that you have right now is going to shift and change, and you might be just completely inspired by a class and in college or in right now, and you might want to change things, and just whatever you choose to pursue, you will be doing that more than any other thing you will do in your life. So you have more time. Like, I spend more time in our school building than I do with my family, with my husband, more time, energy with that. So if you aren't if it's not filling you with any kind of, with that fulfillment, with that, if you don't feel that passion anymore, you're in trouble, because that's what you're like, and
you really have to think about like what you want to wake up in the morning and do every day. That's what it is. It's day to day. Like, there are definitely mornings you wake up and you're like, I don't think I can do this today.
But then
most days we love it.
Yeah, but don't you feel, Miss Dodd, that when you're like the best thing is, like I always say in a normal situation, that whatever else is happening, I want to go in my classroom,
I'm going to close
my door and just be with my class.
Yes.
And just teach. Everything else is like, so that's what I love, is that part. Now, to teaching, there's a heck of a lot more than that part.
But that's the
that,
best part.
oh, that is the best part.
The best part.
You know, and the best part is when you have any kind of influence, whether it's people coming back or, you know, emailing. So like, you know, we like to hear what people are doing and how, you know, just any kind of connection or sometimes we'll get
Oh yeah.
just, oh, I was thinking of class, or I was thinking of you. I wanted to let you know I was doing this.
Yeah, I love
And
that. That's the best.
it's just the best thing ever. It's the best
Mhm.
thing. So that would be, you know, that would be the other thing that I would say is just
Yeah.
try to keep connected with people. And you know, you'll have college friends, you'll have college friends and you'll have professional friends, but high school friends are just, it's different. You know, people that went through
Yeah.
it with you, went through high school with you. So just trying to keep those connections, I would say, is also really important.
Questions we have for you guys. We appreciate you guys so much for coming on today.
Oh, but thanks for having us.
We really
Thank you.
enjoyed
So
getting
nice.
to know you, and I know the SPHS students will too.
Yeah, super
I
cool.
hope so. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.